What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for PlayPicks.com. Going to talk a little Monday Night Football. We have a good game again. Vikings heading to Seattle to take on the Seahawks in a very important game for both teams here. Guys, as always, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up. If you enjoy the content that you're watching here, really appreciate it. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And also, in the comment section, let us know how you're playing the game. Of course, whether you want to back, be it the Vikings, be it the Seahawks, or maybe you're going to play the total. Maybe it's a pass for you, whatever. Just let us know what you're doing down there in the comments below. Watch the video to the end, and you will see we'll be doing some giveaways as well. We'll figure out how we're going to do that. Guys, dkpicks.com for free $25 over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and PlayPicks/bonus for all of our sign-up bonus offers here. All right, Vikings and the Seahawks here, guys. We got about low 40s, not much wind, and it is Seattle, so it might rain, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. So not really any sort of weather concerns in this game for either team here. Vikings 6-5-1 on the season, 4-2 at home, 2-3-1 on the road, 6-5-1 against the spread so far this season, coming off a 24-10 loss to the New England Patriots. If you watched that game, they did not look good in that game really at all. They're still in the playoffs right now, actually. They are in the very last wild card spot, so there's a lot to play for this Vikings team. Seahawks 7-5 on the season here for this Seahawks team. 3-2 at home, 4-3 on the road, 7-3-2 against the spread, coming off a pretty dominant 43-16 win over the 49ers. Seahawks also in the playoffs as we sit today. They are the other wild card team there in the NFC. So both of these teams, again, just tons and tons to play for in this game. Just huge implications for both of these guys. All right, let's take a look at the lines here. Scroll down a little bit and take a look at where we are at. Of course, DraftKings and FanDuel, we can click over here to these games. Looks like it is 3.5. So you're getting the hook over here at DraftKings now. So money has started to change, because you could see it when we posted this article. It was at 345.5. So there we go. It has come off, and it is at 3.5 now for the Vikings. 46 on the total, so moved a half point here. Over here at FanDuel, still holding steady at 3 and 45.5, but you can see it's juiced on the 3. You're paying minus 120 over here on the Seahawks. So maybe this one gets the hook on there as well sooner as opposed to later. At BetStars, you're still at 345.5, and at 888, you're at 345.5. Scroll down a little bit and let you read Nate's breakdown here at PlayPicks. If you want to take a look at the full breakdown, of course, you can head over there and read that thing. As I go through some of the statistics here for some of these deals, further, a little bit more information on the lines here. 67% of the bets, 52% of the money looks like it's on the looks to be on the Seahawks here. So, yeah, looking like this is a one of those situations where the money just continues to pour in here on the Seahawks. All right, Chris Carson expected to play even with a dislocated finger in this game. Looks like he's going to go. Rashad Penny is back up, also dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury. He's expected to go as well. Doug Baldwin's going to play, but if you've watched Doug Baldwin so far this season, you've seen that Doug Baldwin's just off, hasn't been right basically since the beginning of the season here. Stephon Diggs, always on the injury report, seems like, for the last month and a half, but he is going to play for the Vikings as well here. On the offensive side of the ball for the Vikings, 22.9 points per game. That is 18th in the league. 360.9 yards per game. That is 16th in the league. So right in the middle of the league as far as points per game and yards per game. 16th in total yards. 22nd in red zone touchdown percentage, which is pretty crazy when you consider you've got these weapons in Diggs and Thielen, and also even Kyle Rudolph, a big body there for the red zone as well. But still not getting it done in the red zone, this Vikings team. 32nd in offensive rush percentage. They throw the ball. That's what they do. They don't want to run the ball. 28th in rush yards per attempt. Maybe that has something to do with it as well, because they're not very good at it when they do run the ball. Third most pass attempts in the league. 7th in total pass yards. 38.9% third down conversions for this team. If you're looking at the offensive line, and this has just been a very big struggle for this Vikings team so far this year. 26th ranked run blocking unit and 31st ranked pass blocking unit. So very towards the very bottom of the league in run blocking and in pass blocking for this Vikings team. Seahawks, 26.6 points per game. That is 9th in the league. 353.3 yards per game. That is 19th in the league. 19th in total yards, 8th in red zone touchdown percentage. So they are getting it done in the red zone when they get down there. First in rush attempts, run percentage, and rush yards. This team does want to run. If you watch the Seahawks game so far this year, you totally understand it. Last week, Russell Wilson only threw the ball 17 times in the game last week. That is how much they want to run the ball. Last in pass attempts, obviously, 26th in total pass yards, but 8th in pass yards per attempt. So even though they don't throw it very often, when Russell Wilson does throw it, he's actually been pretty efficient in doing so. 38.7% third down conversion percentage. So getting off the field fairly decently. Offensive line, 28th ranked run blocking unit, which is really weird considering how much they want to run the ball. 11th ranked pass blocking unit there for this team. As far as pace goes, Vikings 7th in pace, Seahawks 26th in pace. When you cancel those out, you have about a pace neutral game when it comes down to it. Scroll down a little bit more if you guys want to continue to read along. The defensive side of the ball, Vikings 22.5 points per game allowed, 8th overall DVOA, 10th overall by Pro Football Focus. So this Vikings defense, highly regarded, not only DVOA, but also by Pro Football Focus. 6th in yards per game allowed, 2nd against the run. So a very stout run defense. Remember that because we just talked about how much Seattle really wants to run the ball. 5th in rush yards per attempt allowed, 18th best pass rush, 8th best pass coverage grade, 9th in pass yards per game allowed. They're in the top 9 against quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, according to Pro Football Focus. So this defense has played very well, despite the fact that they, when you look at that record. On the Seahawks side, 21.6 points per game allowed, 16th overall DVOA defense, 21st overall is according to Pro Football Focus, 20th in yards per game allowed, 17th against the run, 32nd, so that is dead last in rush yards per attempt allowed. 27th ranked pass rush, 15th best pass coverage grade. Now, even though they are dead last in rush yards per attempt allowed, we already went over this, that the Vikings don't want to run the ball. They actually have the fewest rush attempts in the entire league to get up there with all those pass attempts that they have. So let's scroll down a little bit further if you want to keep reading along here, guys. So let's take a look at how we think that this thing could possibly play out. Let's make a case for the over. If you're looking at the total in this one at 45.5, 46-ish, let's make a case for the over here. The case for the over would be Thielen and Diggs just run crazy on this secondary for Seattle. One of the things about Seattle's secondary is while the overall defense has performed at a much higher level than we thought, the secondary has not been all that great. Actually, their 3 corners ranked 65, 83, and 104th, according to Pro Football Focus. And in turn, if that's the case and the Vikings do, Thielen and Diggs go absolutely nuts, then the Seahawks are going to have to abandon that run-heavy scheme that they like to do, and they're going to have to throw the ball. So this game increases in pace much more than it would anyway, according to, of course, the Vikings like to run kind of some pace anyway. And so when they do, again, look, one of the things we mentioned about the Seahawks team, if they do have to abandon the run, one of the things that they have done is at least been fairly efficient when they have thrown the ball, so they're 8th in the league in pass yards per attempt. Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett have some sort of crazy, he's got almost like a perfect passer rating when throwing to Tyler Lockett so far this season. So there are reasons to where if Seattle does have to abandon the run, which they want to do so very badly, that doesn't mean that this team is not going to have any success. So they're also good in the red zone, so that could be another thing that could lead you to the over in this game. If we want to make a case for the under in this thing, it could just be that Seattle dominates on the ground, right? I mean, this is a team that has the most rush attempts, has the most rush yards, has the highest rush percentage of any team in the league, and since that's what they want to do, they dominate on the ground. What happens? That shortens the game, obviously, whenever you run the ball. Tick, 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 tick. And that's how one of the ways that this game could go under in there. Another thing could just be Kirk Cousins plays another disappointing game on the road in kind of one of these tough environments. If we take a look at the last 2 times that he's traveled on the road to kind of one of these environments where, you hear people come out and say that it's pretty tough. Threw 2 picks at Chicago 3 weeks ago, threw 2 picks at New England last week. So Kirk Cousins in these situations where he's on the road outside of a dome and playing in some of these weird conditions and things like that has struggled over the last month. So that could lead you to another way that this game gets to the under. As far as player props, how I'm looking to play some player props in this thing. I mean, of course, there's tons at DraftKings and FanDuel and stuff like that. One of the things that I'm going to be looking at from player props, just as far as that goes, is just some yardage totals. I'm going to be looking, trying to find some yardage totals for Thielen and Diggs. Yeah, so Thielen and Diggs right here, 90.5 and 72.5. I actually think that they will have some success through the air here. So I'm going to take a look at these. Might be playing some overs on Thielen and Diggs as far as receiving yards props here. Looking at the bets here. So let's talk about how, what are the questions that need to be answered in this game? It's, can the Vikings offensive line step up and protect Kirk Cousins? This guy has just been getting beat up back there so far this season. He's been under pressure more times than any quarterback in the NFL. That stepped up even last week against New England, where he was under duress. Over 44% of his dropbacks. So nearly every other dropback, they were getting in his face. And so that is just not going to work. That's not a recipe for success. So can this offensive line step up against a unit that doesn't have a particularly good pass rush to begin with? And further, can the Vikings get any sort of run game going whatsoever? As we mentioned, this Seahawks team gives up a lot of rush yards per attempt, but the Vikings just don't want to run the ball and have not run the ball so far this season. I imagine that this game plan will be to try to establish themselves on the ground a little bit. And finally, how effective will the Seahawks run game be? I mean, we talked about how much they want to run the football, but then look, we're talking about a Minnesota Vikings defense that's giving up fewer than 79 yards per game on the ground. So that is certainly something that is going to play into how this game plays out, is whether Seattle's able to do what they want to do, and that is run the ball against a very stout run defense for the Vikings here. Another key to this game is if you kind of look a little bit deeper with Seattle, you see these dominant wins over the last couple of weeks or whatever, but if you dig a little bit deeper, the teams have just really struggled in the red zone. The 49ers were 1 of 4 whenever they got in the red zone. The Panthers were 3 of 7. And so they're just leaving tons and tons of points on the board, which leads to, these wins for the Seahawks here. Now that I see, whenever we flipped over to DraftKings here, that when we go back to the lines and seeing that we're getting the hook here, that leads me to the Vikings. That was actually where I was going to go with the breakdown here, is that at 3, I think that's about right. I didn't have a strong position one way or the other. Now that we're looking at over at DraftKings here, that we can get this hook. I think that's the side I'm going to be playing here. I think this Vikings team is going to be able to move the ball through the air on this Seahawks secondary. As we mentioned, corners really ranked pretty low, and that's against some inferior competition compared to what you have in Thielen and Diggs, who might be right up there as with Juju and AB and some of these other wide receiver pairs. Certainly one of the top 5 receiving pairs duos in the entire league. So I think this is going to cause them a lot of trouble here. And I'm going to be playing the Vikings in this one. Kind of a small bet here because I don't have a ton of conviction in this thing. Of course, playing up in Seattle in that 12th man situation is one of the most intimidating factors in all of the NFL. But look, Kirk Cousins has been around the block. He's not a rookie here and just has so many weapons. And if they can get Dalvin Cook finally going here, I think the Vikings can show some success. And with that defense being so good against the run, they're going to force Seattle out of their game plan, make Seattle do something they don't want to do, which is put the ball in the air a ton. So for me, going to go ahead and roll with the Vikings here with the hook. If I don't get the hook, I'm probably not going to play this game. So just keep that in mind as well. Guys, as always, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments how you're playing this game. And also, your reward for watching this all the way to the end. Guess the exact score of this game. Put it in the comments down below. And if you get the score exactly right, I'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card. You also have to be a subscriber for you to win that. So be sure and be a subscriber as well. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll be back for Thursday Night Football. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. While you're here, hit that subscribe button right down below. Make sure you never miss a video. When you get done doing that, please head to playpicks.com/bonus for the very best deposit bonus and free money offers on the internet.